The Valoran Empire had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. They had conquered 17 star systems. They had destroyed civilizations that tried to resist them. Their warships were the size of small moons, and their weapons could burn entire continents to ash. No species had ever defeated them. No species had ever come close. High Commander Torath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and looked at the holographic display before him. A small blue planet rotated slowly in the projection. Water covered most of its surface. Green and brown patches showed land. White clouds swirled across its face. "What is this world called?" Torath asked his science officer. "The natives call it Earth, Commander. It is the third planet from their star." Torath studied the data scrolling beside the image. Population, 8 billion. Technology level, primitive. They had only recently discovered nuclear power. They had not yet traveled beyond their own moon. They were children playing with toys while the Valoran Empire commanded the galaxy. "Send the standard message," Torath ordered. "Give them one rotation of their planet to surrender. If they refuse, we begin the cleansing." The message traveled at the speed of light toward the blue world. Torath expected the usual response. Every species reacted the same way. First came fear. Then came desperate attempts to negotiate. Finally came surrender. It was always the same. On Earth, Lieutenant David Park was flying a routine patrol over the Pacific Ocean when his instruments went crazy. The radar showed objects that should not exist. They were too big, moving too fast, and they were everywhere. David had been a pilot for 12 years. He had seen combat. He had faced death. But nothing had prepared him for this. He reported what he saw to his commanders. Within hours, the entire world knew. The objects in the sky were not natural. They were ships. Alien ships. And there were thousands of them. Dr. Grace. Kim had spent her entire life searching for signs of intelligent life in the universe. She worked at NASA, studying signals from distant stars, hoping to find proof that humanity was not alone. Now, she stood in the control room at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, watching the alien fleet arrange itself around Earth like wolves surrounding a wounded deer. "They are not here to say hello," she said quietly to her colleague. "Look at their formation. This is a military operation." The alien message arrived 3 hours later. It was simple and direct. The Valoran Empire claimed Earth and all its resources. Humanity had 24 hours to surrender completely. All governments must dissolve. All military forces must lay down their weapons. Humans would become servants of the Empire. Those who resisted would die. General William Hayes had served his country for 40 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He had buried friends and sent young men to their deaths. He had made impossible decisions in impossible situations. But this was different. This was not a war between nations. This was a war for the survival of the entire human race. The leaders of every nation gathered through video conference. For the first time in history, there were no arguments about borders or politics or old grudges. There was only one question: what do we do? Some wanted to surrender. They argued that fighting was pointless. The aliens were too powerful. Better to live as servants than die as heroes. Others wanted to negotiate. Perhaps the aliens could be reasoned with. Perhaps some deal could be made. General Hayes listened to all of them. Then he spoke. "I have studied their message carefully," he said. "These creatures do not want to negotiate. They do not want peace. They want slaves. They want our planet. They want everything we have and everything we are. If we surrender, we lose our freedom forever. Our children will be born into chains. Our grandchildren will never know what it meant to be human." He paused and looked at the faces on the screens around him. Presidents, prime ministers, kings and queens, all of them afraid, all of them looking for someone to tell them what to do. "I say we fight," Hayes continued. "Maybe we will lose. Maybe they will kill us all. But at least we will die on our feet, not on our knees. At least our children will know that their parents tried. At least the universe will know that humanity did not go quietly into the night." The vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. David Park was called to a special briefing that night. Pilots from every nation filled the room. Americans sat next to Russians. Chinese pilots talked with Japanese. Old enemies became new allies in the face of extinction. A colonel stood at the front of the room. His face was tired but determined. "You all know why you are here," he said. "In 18 hours, those ships will begin their attack. We do not know how powerful their weapons are. We do not know how fast their fighters can fly. We do not know anything about them except one thing. They think we are weak. They think we will break easily. They think we are prey." He smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. They are wrong. They do not know what humans are capable of. They do not know our history. They do not know that we have spent our entire existence fighting against impossible odds. They declared war on Earth, but no one told them what we really are. High Commander Torath received Earth's response exactly 23 hours after his message was sent. He expected begging. He expected tears. He expected surrender. Instead, he received 2 words: "We decline." Torath stared at the message for a long moment. In 10,000 years of conquest, no species had ever responded this way. They always surrendered. They always broke. They always chose survival over pride. He turned to his tactical officer. "What do we know about these humans?" "Very little, Commander. They evolved on a planet classified as a Category 7 death world. Extreme temperature variations, predators, natural disasters. Most species do not survive on such worlds. And yet these humans did." "Yes, Commander. They did." Torath looked back at the blue planet on his display. For the first time in centuries, he felt something strange. Something he could not quite identify. It was not fear. The Valoran did not feel fear. They had evolved beyond such primitive emotions. And yet, as he gave the order to begin the invasion, Torath could not shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. The war for Earth had begun. The first Valoran dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like metal rain. They came down in the Nevada desert, far from the major cities, establishing a forward base for the invasion. High Commander Torath had done this 100 times before. Land troops. Crush resistance. Move forward. Conquer. The Valoran soldiers who stepped onto Earth's surface were giants. They stood 8 feet tall, with skin like polished stone and muscles built for war. Their crystalline armor could stop any projectile. Their weapons fired beams of concentrated energy that could cut through steel. Each soldier was worth 100 of any enemy they had ever faced. Captain James Cho watched them through his binoculars from a ridge 2 miles away. He was an Army Ranger, a veteran of 3 combat deployments. He had seen the worst humanity could do to itself. But these creatures were something else entirely. "How many?" asked Sergeant Michelle Lee, lying beside him with her sniper rifle ready. "At least 500 in the first wave. More coming down every minute." Michelle adjusted her scope. She had been a competitive shooter since she was 12 years old. Now she was one of the best snipers in the United States military. She had never missed a target in her life. But these targets were different. These targets were not human. "Think our bullets will work?" she asked. Only one way to find out. The American forces had positioned themselves in the rocky terrain surrounding the landing zone. They were outnumbered badly. The Valorans had better weapons, better armor, and thousands of years of combat experience. By every measure, this battle should have been over before it started. But the Valorans did not know humans. Dr. Kevin Yoon sat in a mobile command center 3 miles behind the front lines. He was a scientist from DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. His job was to observe, analyze, and find weaknesses. He watched through drone cameras as the Valoran soldiers formed their lines. Their movement is very organized, he noted into his recorder. Almost mechanical. They do not seem to adapt to terrain. They walk in straight lines regardless of obstacles. The Valorans advanced toward the American positions. They moved with confidence, their weapons ready but not raised. They did not expect real resistance. Every species they had conquered had crumbled at the first show of force. Michelle Lee fired the first shot of the war. Her bullet traveled 2,000 meters in less than 2 seconds. It struck a Valoran officer directly in the neck, just below his helmet. The alien fell without a sound. For a moment, nothing happened. The other Valorans simply stared at their fallen commander. They did not understand. No primitive species had ever killed one of them from such a distance. Then the desert erupted in fire. American soldiers opened up from every direction. Bullets rained down on the Valoran formation. Mortar exploded among their ranks. Anti-tank missiles shrieked across the sand. The Valorans tried to respond. Their energy weapons were powerful but slow. By the time they aimed at a target, the humans had already moved. The Americans fought like ghosts, appearing from behind rocks, firing, then disappearing again. Captain Cho led a squad through a narrow canyon toward the Valoran flank. The temperature was over 40 degrees Celsius. The sun beat down like a hammer. Any Valoran caught in this heat for more than 30 minutes would collapse. Their bodies could not handle extreme temperatures. But James Cho had trained in worse conditions. He had run marathons in the desert. He had survived the jungle, the Arctic, and everything in between. Heat was just another obstacle to overcome. His squad reached the Valoran supply line and attacked without warning. The aliens had not posted guards. Why would they? No enemy had ever gotten this close to their rear positions. Private Daniel Huang was 19 years old. He had joined the army to pay for college. He had never expected to fight aliens. But when a Valoran soldier charged at him, Daniel did not run. He did not freeze. He raised his rifle and fired until it was empty. Then he pulled his knife and kept fighting. The Valoran outweighed him by 150 kilograms. It did not matter. Daniel had wrestled in high school. He had grown up fighting older brothers who never went easy on him. He knew how to use an enemy's weight against them. When the Valoran grabbed him, Daniel twisted, slashed, and stabbed. The alien's armor had gaps. Every armor did. Daniel found them. The Valoran fell. Daniel stood over its body, breathing hard. Covered in purple blood that was not his own. By sunset, the 1st Valoran Battalion had been destroyed. High Commander Torath received the casualty report on his flagship. He read it 3 times, certain there must be an error. 473 Valoran soldiers dead. The humans have lost less than 50. This is impossible, he said. These creatures have no advanced weapons, no energy shields, no combat training comparable to ours. How did they do this? His tactical officer brought up recordings from the battle. Torath watched humans fighting in conditions that would kill his own soldiers. He watched them take wounds that should have been fatal and keep fighting. He watched them work together with perfect coordination, each soldier trusting the others with their lives. They do not break, the tactical officer said quietly. We killed some of them. We wounded many more. But they did not run. They did not surrender. They just kept fighting. Torath had conquered 17 star systems. He had faced enemies with superior technology, superior numbers, superior everything. But he had never faced an enemy that simply refused to stop. "Send more troops," he ordered. 10 times as many. We will crush them with numbers." But even as he gave the order, Toroth felt that strange feeling again. That feeling he could not name. That feeling that whispered in the back of his mind, "You have made a terrible mistake." On Earth, Captain James Cho gathered his surviving soldiers. They were tired, wounded, and running low on ammunition. But they were alive. And they had won. "Today we proved something," Cho told them. "We proved that these things can die. We proved that they can be beaten. They came here expecting easy prey. They found warriors instead." He looked at their faces. Young and old. Men and women. Different backgrounds, different stories, but all of them human. All of them fighters. This is just the beginning. More will come. The fight will get harder. But remember this day. Remember that we stood against the stars and did not fall. Remember that we are human, and humans do not surrender. Somewhere in the night sky above them, Valoran reinforcements were already descending. The real war was about to begin. But the humans were ready. They had always been ready. This is what they were born to do. The Valoran High Council met in their great chamber aboard the command station orbiting Earth. 12 of the most powerful leaders in the Empire sat in a circle, their faces showing emotions that none of them had felt in generations: confusion, frustration, and something that might have been fear. "Explain this to us," demanded Council Leader Vareth. "How have these primitives resisted our forces for 3 weeks? We have conquered civilizations with faster ships, stronger weapons, and larger armies. These humans have none of these advantages." High Commander Toroth stood before them, his pride wounded, but his spine still straight. He had lost 8,000 soldiers in 21 days. The humans had lost more, but they kept fighting. Every city they attacked became a fortress. Every street became a battlefield. Every building became a trap. "They are not like other species," Toroth said carefully. "They do not behave as expected." "Then learn why," Vareth commanded. "Study them. Find their weakness. We will not be humiliated by insects." The Valoran Intelligence Division began the most thorough study of any species they had ever encountered. They captured human prisoners and studied their bodies. They intercepted human communications and analyzed their languages. They observed human soldiers in battle and recorded every detail. What they found changed everything. Dr. Angela Rhee was a xenobiologist working at a secret military base in Colorado. She had spent her career studying life on Earth, searching for patterns and connections. Now she was studying the enemy instead. "Their physiology is actually quite fragile," she explained to Admiral Susan Beek, who commanded the Pacific Fleet. "They cannot handle temperature extremes. Anything below freezing or above 35 Celsius causes them serious problems. Their bones are brittle. Their organs are inefficient. By any biological measure, they should be a weak species. Then how did they conquer 17 star systems?" the Admiral asked. "Because they never faced real resistance. Their homeworld is a paradise. Perfect temperature year-round. No predators. No natural disasters. Abundant food. They evolved in safety and comfort." Angela pulled up images on her screen. The Valoran homeworld looked like a garden. Gentle hills. Calm waters. Endless forests full of fruit. Now compare that to Earth. The next images showed volcanoes erupting, hurricanes destroying coastlines, earthquakes splitting the ground, ice ages covering continents, droughts turning forests to deserts. "We evolved in chaos," Angela continued. "Every generation of humans faced extinction. We survived ice ages that killed most life on our planet. We survived diseases that wiped out half our population. We survived each other. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every single day. Admiral Beak nodded slowly. So they are soft because they never had to be hard. Exactly. And there is more. Angela showed combat footage captured by drones. A human soldier taking a bullet wound to the shoulder and continuing to fight. Another soldier running for kilometers without rest to deliver a message. A group of wounded soldiers refusing evacuation to protect their position. Human bodies produce chemicals when under stress. Adrenaline, cortisol. These chemicals allow us to ignore pain, fear, and exhaustion. We can push ourselves beyond what should be physically possible. A mother can lift a car to save her child. A soldier can fight with mortal wounds. We do not break when things get hard. We get stronger. The Valoran intelligence report reached the High Council 3 days later. It was 400 pages long. By the time the Council finished reading it, several members had requested personal security details. The report explained that Earth was classified as a Category 7 death world. This was the most dangerous classification possible. Most intelligent life never evolved on such worlds. Those few species that did usually destroyed themselves before reaching space. Humans had not only survived, they had thrived. The report detailed human history. Endless wars fought over resources, territory, religion, and ideas. Millions dead in conflicts that spanned generations. Weapons designed specifically to cause maximum suffering. Chemical agents, nuclear bombs, biological warfare. Humans had spent their entire existence learning how to kill each other more efficiently. They practice war for entertainment, the report noted. They have created simulated conflicts they call sports and games. Their children are taught to compete from birth. Their entire culture is built around struggle and victory. Council leader Varath read one passage 3 times before he believed it. Human soldiers have been observed fighting for days without sleep. They consume stimulants to remain alert. They bind their wounds and continue moving. When their weapons fail, they use tools. When tools fail, they use rocks. When rocks fail, they use their bare hands. They do not recognize the concept of impossible odds. They simply keep fighting until they win or die. But the most disturbing part of the report was the final section. Humans are pack hunters. They form tight social bonds and will sacrifice themselves for their group. A human soldier will die to save a stranger simply because that stranger wears the same uniform. This behavior appears irrational, but creates combat units of extreme effectiveness. The report concluded with a single recommendation. Immediate withdrawal from the Sol system is advised. The human species represents a threat level unprecedented in Valoran history. Vara threw the report across the chamber. We do not retreat. We have never retreated. We will destroy these creatures if we have to burn their entire planet. But others on the council were not so sure. They had seen the casualty numbers. They had watched their warriors fall to primitive weapons wielded by primitive hands. They had begun to understand something that Toroth had realized weeks ago. The Valoran Empire had not invaded Earth. They had walked into a trap. On Earth, Colonel Robert Lim was developing new tactics at an Air Force base in Texas. Human pilots had been struggling against Valoran fighters. The alien ships were faster, and their weapons had longer range. We cannot beat them in a straight fight, Robert told his team. So we will not fight straight. We will fight dirty. He introduced new maneuvers that pushed human pilots to their physical limits. Turns so sharp they caused blackouts. Dives so steep they risked structural failure. Attacks so close that survival depended on split-second timing. The Valorans fly by computer, Robert explained. They follow program patterns. They do not improvise. They do not take risks. But humans? We are creative. We are unpredictable. We are crazy enough to try things that should not work. The first test of these new tactics came over the Pacific Ocean. Lieutenant David Park led a squadron of 12 fighters against 30 Valoran craft. They should have been slaughtered. Instead, David used the clouds as cover. He led the aliens into a storm where lightning and wind disrupted their sensors. He flew so low that his wingtips almost touched the waves. He did things that no computer would ever calculate, things that no sane pilot would attempt. When the battle ended, 8 Valoran fighters had been destroyed. David's squadron lost only 2. The report of this victory spread across Earth within hours. For the first time since the invasion began, people started to believe that winning was possible. They did not know what they really were. Now they were beginning to learn. 6 months had passed since the invasion began. The Valorans controlled parts of every continent, but they had not won. Every city they captured became a source of constant attacks. Every road they used was lined with explosives. Every night brought new raids from human resistance fighters, who struck from the darkness and vanished before dawn. But humanity was not satisfied with just defending their planet. They wanted to take the fight to the stars. Dr. Angela Rhee had spent months studying captured Valoran technology. Their ships used principles that human scientists were only beginning to understand. Faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, artificial gravity. It should have taken decades to reverse engineer such advanced systems. Humanity did it in 5 months. "We cheated," Angela admitted to General Hayes during a briefing. "We did not try to understand the theory. We just figured out which buttons to push and copied everything we could. It is ugly. It is dangerous. But it works." The first human spacecraft capable of leaving the solar system was not elegant. Engineers had taken a space shuttle and bolted Valoran technology onto it wherever they could fit it. The hull was reinforced with alien armor. The engines were a combination of human rockets and stolen propulsion systems. The weapons were energy cannons ripped from wrecked enemy fighters. Commander Jennifer Song looked at the ship and laughed. She was a Navy pilot who had transferred to the space program before the invasion. She had dreamed of flying among the stars her entire life. She had never imagined it would happen like this. "It looks like someone built it in a garage," she said. "That is basically what happened," replied Lisa Moon, the engineer who had led the construction team. Lisa had not slept more than 4 hours a night for 3 months. She lived on coffee and determination. But it will fly. And it will fight. The ship was named Defiance. Humanity's first warship. Major Thomas Kang selected the crew personally. He chose soldiers who had proven themselves in the ground war. Fighters who did not know how to quit. Men and women who had looked death in the face and refused to blink. "We are going to attack their staging base near Mars," Thomas explained during the mission briefing. "Intelligence says they have a supply depot there. If we destroy it, we cut off reinforcements to Earth." "How many ships do they have defending it?" asked one pilot. "About 50. "And how many ships do we have?" Thomas smiled. "1. But it is a human ship. That makes it worth 100 of theirs." The Defiance launched at midnight, streaking away from Earth like a shooting star in reverse. Commander Song pushed the engines harder than they were designed to go. Warning lights flashed across her console. She ignored them. The trip to Mars took 6 hours. In that time, the crew prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They reviewed the attack plan. They wrote letters to their families, just in case. When the Valoran staging base came into view, Jennifer felt her heart stop for a moment. It was massive. A metal structure the size of a small city, surrounded by dozens of warships. Against all that firepower, the Defiance looked like a toy. "Are we really doing this?" asked her co-pilot. "We are really doing this." The attack began with a distraction. Human missiles launched toward the base from 3 different directions. They were not powerful enough to cause serious damage, but that was not their purpose. Their purpose was to make the Valorans look the wrong way. While enemy ships moved to intercept the missiles, the Defiance dropped out of concealment and dove straight toward the base. Jennifer flew like she had never flown before, weaving between enemy fire, using asteroids as cover, pushing her ship past every limit. Launching boarding pods, Thomas announced 12 small craft shot away from the Defiance, carrying soldiers in vacuum-rated combat suits. They hit the Valoran base like bullets, punching through the outer hull and deploying troops inside. The fighting in the corridors was brutal. Valoran soldiers were larger and stronger, but humans had learned their weaknesses. Quick strikes to joints, attacks from multiple directions, constant movement that kept the aliens off balance. Private Anna Shin led her squad through the engineering section. She was 26 years old, a former mechanic who had joined the military when the aliens arrived. She knew machines better than she knew people, and she knew exactly what to destroy. "The reactor is through that door," she told her team. "We plant charges and get out. 5 minutes maximum." They breached the door and ran into a wall of Valoran defenders. The firefight that followed lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 3 humans were wounded and 8 Valorans were dead. Anna planted her explosives with steady hands while bullets flew past her head. She set the timer for 3 minutes. Then she grabbed her wounded teammates and ran. The charges detonated just as the boarding teams reached their extraction points. The reactor explosion created a chain reaction that tore through the entire base. Secondary explosions ripped through weapons storage. Fuel tanks ruptured and ignited. Within minutes, the staging base was nothing but debris. But the battle was not over. 30 Valoran ships were converging on the Defiance. Jennifer Song was out of tricks and almost out of fuel. Her ship was damaged, her crew exhausted. An escape seemed impossible. Then something unexpected happened. More human ships appeared. They came from Earth, in a ragged fleet of converted spacecraft. Civilian vessels armed with stolen weapons, anything that could fly and fight. Hundreds of them. Pilots who had heard about the mission and refused to let their comrades die alone. "This is the Earth Defense Fleet," came a voice over the radio. "Defiance, we have your back." The battle that followed would later be called the Miracle at Mars. Human ships swarmed the Valoran formation like angry bees. They used tactics that no military academy had ever taught. They rammed enemy vessels when their weapons ran dry. They flew suicide runs that turned their ships into guided missiles. Captain Anashin was one of those who did not survive. Her transport was hit during the extraction. Instead of ejecting, she turned her burning ship toward a Valoran cruiser and pushed the engines to maximum. Her last transmission was recorded and played. "Across Earth, tell my mother I love her. Tell my sisters I will see them again someday. And tell these alien bastards that they picked the wrong planet." A ship hit the cruiser at full speed. The explosion destroyed both vessels. When the battle ended, the Valoran fleet had lost 42 ships. Humanity had lost over 100. But the staging base was gone. The supply line to Earth was cut. And for the first time, the Valoran Empire knew what it felt like to be afraid. High Commander Torath received the news on his flagship. He sat in silence for a long time, staring at the casualty reports. Then he did something that no Valoran commander had done in 10,000 years. He requested a ceasefire. The war was not over, but the tide had turned. Humanity was no longer prey. They were predators now, and they were coming for their enemies. The ceasefire negotiations took place aboard a station in neutral space, far from Earth and far from the Valoran Empire. Both sides had agreed to this location because neither trusted the other. 3 human representatives faced 3 Valoran leaders across a metal table in a cold, Empty room. Ambassador Michael Park led the human delegation. He was 63 years old, a career diplomat who had spent his life negotiating trade deals and peace treaties. His wife had died when the Valorans bombed Seoul in the first week of the invasion. His son, David, was still fighting on the front lines. Michael had every reason to hate the creatures sitting across from him. But he also understood that hate would not rebuild his world. General Rachel Kim sat to his right. She had coordinated Earth's global defense for the past 8 months. She knew exactly how many humans had died. She carried that number with her every day. 237 million. Men, women, children. Entire cities turned to ash. She would never forget. She would never forgive. But she was a soldier, and soldiers sometimes had to make peace with their enemies. Dr. Andrew Lee completed the human delegation. He was the scientist who had cracked the Valoran communication codes, allowing humanity to intercept enemy transmissions. He understood the aliens better than almost anyone on Earth. He had studied their language, their culture, their psychology. He knew what they feared. High Commander Torath led the Valoran side. The war had changed him. His confidence was gone, replaced by something darker. He had lost 20,000 soldiers. He had lost 3 staging bases. He had lost something even more important, his belief that the Valoran Empire could not be defeated. Council leader Verith sat beside him, representing the political leadership of the Empire. And beside Verith sat Admiral Korath, commander of the remaining Valoran fleet. For several minutes, no one spoke. The two species simply looked at each other across the table, measuring, evaluating, remembering everything that had happened. Finally, Torath broke the silence. "We underestimated you," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "In 10,000 years of conquest, we have never faced a species like yours. You are primitive. Your technology is crude. Your lifespans are short. By every measure, you should have been easy to conquer." He paused, his alien eyes studying the humans before him. "And yet here we sit, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals negotiating peace." Ambassador Park nodded slowly. "We surprised ourselves as well, Commander. Before your ships arrived, we were a divided species. We fought among ourselves constantly. We wasted our potential on petty conflicts and selfish goals. Your invasion changed that. Explain." "You gave us something we had never had before. A common enemy. A common purpose. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth worked together. Every difference was set aside. Every old wound was forgotten. You did not defeat us because you united us." Torath considered this. "If we had known what you truly were, we would never have come. What are we, Commander? In your words." Torath looked at his colleagues, then back at the humans. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that surprised everyone in the room. "You are the apex predators of a death world. Your planet tried to kill you for millions of years, and you killed it back. You hunted every creature that threatened you to extinction. You survived ice ages that should have wiped out your species. You survived diseases that killed billions. You survived yourselves." He leaned forward, his massive hands flat on the table. "You are not civilized, no matter what you believe. Deep inside, you are still the hunters who chase prey across frozen plains. You are still the warriors who fought with stones and teeth and bare hands. You have simply learned to hide it behind technology and culture. But when we threatened you, all of that fell away, and we saw what you really are." General Kim spoke for the first time. "And what is that?" "Survivors. At any cost. By any means. You do not surrender because you do not know how. Surrender was bred out of your species 100,000 years ago. Those who surrendered died. Those who fought lived and had children who fought. We attacked the most dangerous species in the galaxy without understanding what we faced. The room fell silent again. Ambassador Park finally responded. "We do not want to be dangerous, Commander. We want what all intelligent beings want: peace, security, a future for our children. But you are correct about one thing. We will never surrender. We will never submit. If you continue this war, we will fight until the last human being is dead. And we will take as many of your people with us as we can." "I believe you," Toroth said quietly. "That is why I requested this meeting." The negotiations lasted for 3 days. Every detail was debated, challenged, and revised. The final treaty was unlike anything the Valoran Empire had ever signed. Earth was recognized as a sovereign world, free from Valoran control forever. All Valoran forces would withdraw from the Sol system within 30 days. Humanity would receive compensation for the damage caused by the invasion. And the Valoran Empire would share certain technologies to help rebuild what they had destroyed. In return, humanity agreed not to pursue offensive operations against Valoran territory. For now, when the treaty was signed, Council Leader Virith asked a question that had been bothering him throughout the negotiations. "What will you do now? You have faster-than-light capability. You have weapons based on our technology. You could expand into the galaxy. You could build an empire of your own." Dr. Andrew Lee answered, "We could. But we have learned something from this war. We learned that the galaxy is not empty. Other species are watching. They saw what we did to your forces. They will remember. So you will wait? We will prepare. We will grow stronger. We will learn more about the universe and its dangers. And when the time comes, when someone else decides that Earth is an easy target." Andrew smiled. And there was nothing friendly in that smile. "They will learn the same lesson you did." 1 year later, humanity launched its first interstellar colony ship. It was not a warship, but it carried weapons. It was not a threat, but it was a warning. A signal to every species in the galaxy that Earth was awake and watching. Captain David Park stood on the bridge as the ship prepared to leave the solar system. Dr. Grace Kim stood beside him, monitoring the navigation systems. They had both come so far since that first day when alien ships appeared in the sky. "Do you think we will find other hostile species out there?" Grace asked. David looked at the stars spread across the view screen. Billions of points of light, each one a potential friend or enemy. "Probably," he said. "The universe is big, and we are just getting started." "Are you worried?" He thought about the war, the battles, the friends he had lost, the things he had seen humanity accomplish when pushed to the edge of extinction. "No," he said finally. "I am not worried. Because now they know what we are, and they know what happens when you declare war on Earth." Across the galaxy, a warning spread through every communication network, every diplomatic channel, every species that had the technology to receive it. The Valoran Empire had sent it themselves, swallowing their pride to save others from making the same mistake. The message was simple: designation, Earth, classification, extreme death world, dominant species, human, technological level, rapidly advancing, threat assessment, maximum, recommendation, do not engage, do not provoke, do not underestimate. The humans are awake, and they remember everything. The stars waited silent and vast, and humanity stepped forward to meet them. Ready for whatever came next. They had survived their planet. They had survived the invasion. They would survive whatever the universe threw at them, because that is what humans do. They survive, and then they win.